We now continue talking and we start with marking criteria. It's very important that you understand how it works. So overall performance for each year is judged on the basis of the use of the radar chart, the value proposition that you designed, and pricing decisions. So in terms of the radar chart, we would be looking into particular aspects such as how did you identify features, benefits, including unarticulated and articulated features and benefits. Did you identify correct competitors, direct competitors, indirect competitors? What about the scales that you attributed on the map from to 3? The overall use of the radar chart and any other aspect related to the radar chart. So you can tell just how many things we are looking for in just you using the radar chart. It's quite impressive how much information we can get just from this. The second point is value proposition, which is the most important part of your game. And we will look into how you define target market, whether that's clear enough, how you define product, the category you are competing in, how do you identify the benefits, and this is really important part of value proposition, how you articulate points of differences and reasons to believe. And finally, pricing decisions made, so whether your pricing decisions are close to reality and the strength of the arguments provided. Please note, innovation might be acknowledged only if this is relevant. Last year, we had around probably 2 or maximum 3 teams who introduced some sort of feature or benefit that we did not expect, and they would get an innovation point if that is relevant. However, they are kind of like very rare, and we wouldn't be expecting to receive too many of them. But if you do find anything that is innovative, and you are welcome to write it down. Marking criteria, it's important that you understand the weighting as well, because the aim is to be as transparent as possible. With a lot of other simulation games, you don't get to see algorithms, even tutors don't get to see algorithms, but here we try to give you as much information as possible. So the weighting splits into 3 different areas. Value proposition is the most significant part, which constitutes 50% of your overall mark for each round. Radar chart is around 40% and pricing decisions 10%. So in terms of the sequence, you start with the radar chart because it serves as kind of an analysis tool. You make pricing decisions, and then the end result, you kind of design a value proposition, which is your total promise to the customers. There is some mark deduction in this game, and there is a good rationale to explain this. So the maximum number of marks you can get for each round is 100. Very simple, standard to any marking scheme at universities in the UK. However, you may lose 18 marks for each round too. For example, if you identified features but they were not correct. So for example, some features were not correctly identified, they were wrong features, or you have identified too many features, or you have not articulated them clearly, and from reading this we couldn't understand what you meant, and this may result in you losing up to 5 marks. The other point, not correctly identified benefits. And again, if you haven't identified them correctly, you put wrong benefits that are irrelevant to your target market, or you identified too many benefits, or not clearly articulated benefits, because again, it is a frustration, it results in a lack of clarity. And this may result in you losing up to 5 marks of 100. Not correctly identified competitors may result in losing up to 8 marks. So for example, if you have identified not correct competitors, or maybe too many competitors. The rationale behind all this with mark deduction is that When we over communicate to customers in terms of features and benefits, what we do, we confuse the customers. And we live in overcrowded environment. Our product is just one product out of hundreds of products that customers are buying each and every day. When we identify too many competitors, we simply become too much competitor obsessed and are less likely to react to the actual customer needs, wants, and desires. So therefore, there is a good rationale to explain a mark deduction. Of course, mark deduction is so much smaller in comparison with mark award that you are given for the correct answers. So this just stops you from guessing and writing down anything that you think might be appropriate and being slightly more conscious and more careful with the decisions that you make. We are introducing a new feature, challenge the mark. So you may challenge the mark, however, you need to take into account the maximum you can potentially gain, or usually is 20 marks. The maximum you can lose is 10 marks should your challenge be rejected. And if your challenge is rejected, you will lose some of the marks because someone has to pick it up, revise the decisions, invest time and analyze this and provide you with an outcome. If you do decide to launch a challenge after you've received your results, after feedback you've received from tutors, and also maybe some consultation with your tutors, you need to present your case under the following conditions. You must provide very strong arguments to support your case, no later than 3 days after the marks are released, no more than 100 words per case, and it would be better if the shorter the better. And you will have to submit it to this email address. Once this is revised by the LearnReal, the results will be communicated to your tutor and then to you. So far, the practice shows the challenges were very few and far in between. And if there were some challenges, they were already taken into the account and the game was further developed, because with things like that, you always kind of develop. So generally in practice, we didn't see like any challenges, really issues or anything like that with the game, but we keep our eyes opened, and it's not maths. 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4 necessarily. So we want to give you an opportunity, because it's impossible for us to think about every single possible decision that can happen. So your results are actually compared to possible answer. And that's how the game was designed. So there is a possible answer and solution, the solution that we're looking for. However, as I said, we always look into things when students want to innovate, or if there is a very strong case to present a challenge, go for it. Scenario. So legal disclaimer, the scenario of the game is fictitious, and all the facts, although they might look quite real and not far from reality, are all made up. So you should, however, rely on the information sources available to you. Last year, when some of my students played the game, I caught them chatting about in general situation, London market and so on. And I asked them, what are you doing? And they were telling, oh, we are discussing the prices. We want to decide how much to price this product. And I said, so why are you not relying on the information? So because it was so close to reality, we kind of thought that they are able to improvise and interpret based on their own experience. It's not going to work like this. You have to rely on the information given to you rather than judge from your own mentality and experience. Your role. Congratulations, you have been employed as a brand manager working for an established FMCG company that operates in London in the UK. You have been presented with a real challenge. Your client has ended the year with declining sales and they need to address the issue. Unfortunately, the former brand manager left and the reasons are unknown and did not complete a proper handover to you. Well, no surprise, this happens all the time. However, you are given access to some of his information, and this is named as from the outset. Whether information is right or wrong, helpful or useless, it's up to you to judge. You will work alongside marketing director James Taylor, who joined the company just recently, a month before you started. The ultimate goal you have is to design a radar chart, make pricing decisions, and develop value proposition for your target market. And by doing so, you are maximizing product's appeal in the target market and helping company increase their profitability. What exactly you will have to do? You will have to fill in the template for each year. In template, your decisions are broken down in 3 areas. Draw a radar chart and make decisions within that radar chart. As I said, there is a template given, so it should be relatively straightforward to do that. Make pricing decisions, filling in the required cells, and design value proposition, and again, filling in the gaps in the value proposition. You will have to submit the template to the link provided at the end of the template and title it accordingly. Make sure the title is correct so it's easy for the markers to pick it up and identify. Only for year 3, you will have to do a slightly different template, where you will be required not to fill in everything from the start to the end, like you do with year 1 and year 2, but in year 3, you rather have to show only what you are going to change. So cross out things that are necessary, enter things that are necessary. One advice I can give you, be very specific with your decisions, because you don't want to miss an opportunity by providing lack of clarity or vagueness in your answers. Sometimes the way students name features, it's not very clear, and if it's not clear for markers, you can't understand, a mark of 0 will stand, or very small amount of marks might be recorded. And it's exactly the same with customers. When they are not clear, then they are not clear. So make sure you provide as clear answers as possible. How the game is played. So there will be 3 rounds. For the first round, depending on the tutor, you will be allowed from 90 to 100 minutes. And after the round 1, you will immediately be given feedback. In class, there might be some additional feedback after the class. Round 2 will be shorter, 60 minutes, and less time for feedback, 10 minutes. Round 3 is even shorter, played in around 40 minutes, and feedback in 10 minutes. So in total, the game would require solid 4 hours to play and receive feedback. An important note about team contribution. To maximize your potential teamwork, we would suggest that you engage with some work together before the scenario game starts. So you can work on understanding how radar charts work. You can even draw some radar charts for some fictitious scenarios. What value propositions are, there is a terminology, there will be terminology in the game, but you have to understand what value proposition is and how they work, and also discuss best ways to approach the game. Decide who is doing what, because it will be better for you on the day of making decisions. Remember, it's not a typical teamwork, and there is very little chance for team contribution issues to arise, because you don't really need to do much preparation before. There is no writing involved, where sometimes students say, oh, maybe my English is better than someone's and I put a lot of work, or my intellectual contribution is higher than someone else. All these sort of things are avoided with this simulation game, because everything happens during the class and you will be giving answers, so very short answers, so there shouldn't be any issues like that. You will play in very small teams of around 3 people, and everyone should be really immersed in the game. Any issues will be dealt with applying university's procedures, and as I said, it's important that everyone is involved in the game. How is the information organized? So for each year, you will be given materials. You will be given a short instruction, technical instruction. Make sure you read it carefully. Then the information will be broken down into the areas about company you're working for, about the product you are branding, about your target market, potential competitors, whereby you will have to select which ones are your real competitors. It doesn't mean that you're competing with all of them. From the outset, information left by the former brand manager, information sources, so these are materials available from the market, and it's similar to things like Financial Times, Telegraph, Guardian, and so on. So there is a lot of information, relevant and irrelevant, and it's really the largest chunk. You should understand how to approach this. If you start reading everything, you will never finish a game. So you have to be very strategic. You will have terminology sheet to remind yourself, and also student answer sheet that you have to fill in as a result.